Let's see. When I was a teenager, my parents would quote that classic, "Birds of a feather flock together," to me whenever they drew a conclusion that some kid that I was hanging out with was a bad influence on me. Could have been the other way around, but to them it was a word of warning to me that I was associating myself with people who might be of low moral stature in some way, shape, or form. The modern version of that is more of an economic warning, and that is you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. That'd be financially, morally, ethically. That your life is going to be somewhere in that ballpark. You know, if you hang out with a bunch of fat people, you're probably fat. Hang out with a bunch of rich people, you're either rich or you're getting richer. And so when it comes to women, if you want to find a really great woman, you've got to come at it from that perspective. You've got to start thinking about how do you find high quality, moral women that are worthy of your trust and people that you would want to have in your life for a long term. Well, in order to find those kinds of women, you need to kind of become one of those men. You know what I mean? Like if you want to find a high quality woman, you had better be a high quality man. All right, so then the next question is, how do you become a high quality man? Well, I would start with identifying the characteristics that you're looking for in a high quality woman and create a model of what that woman is like. Envision who she is and what she's like. And then imagine the kind of guy that she would want to be with. And that's the kind of guy you need to become. Identify the characteristics. What kind of morals does she have? And I say morals, those are different from values. These are objective measures of different characteristics like integrity, honesty, loyalty, thriftiness, those kinds of things that you would look for in a partner regardless of the way she looks. I think that's where you start. Having grown up in a very, very Christian household, not that I'm big on any particular religion these days, I do find that, that old rubber band that people used to wear around their wrists, and it said, I think it was WWJD, or what would Jesus do? And I love that because it really does put you in a Christ-like mindset. And I think if you take on that Christ-like mindset and you start thinking about, well, if Jesus Christ were right here, right this minute, as this ideal moral person, how would he judge? I hate to use that word judge because that's a loaded term. How would he evaluate? How would he advise me? How would he help me achieve a higher level of quality, morality, of ethics, of how can he help me become a better quality man? And then you start to find a path that you can follow because it's very clear. Now, I want to separate this Christ-like mindset from any particular religion because I find that a lot of religions are not very Christ-like at all. Even though they claim to be Christian, they have these ideas that get twisted and bent into something that's completely different. And so I wouldn't technically look for any sort of groupthink on this issue because groupthink inevitably ends up with whoever's the most psychotic running the show, and they're going to have some crazy ideas. So what I would do is I would go to your childhood stories about Jesus or read through the Bible and just try to get a vision in your mind of what it would be like to be hanging out with this guy, this ideal being. And whether you believe in Jesus or not isn't even important. This is just a archetype of a enlightened being. That's what we're talking about here. The archetype of an enlightened being. How would it be to be hanging out with this enlightened being? And how would they evaluate your life? And what improvements would they advise you to make? So start taking those steps toward becoming a better man every day. You know, start treating people better. Start doing the right thing when no one's watching. Start being your best self. And the more you practice being your best self, the more you're going to be prepared for meeting the best possible woman that you can find. Because good quality women are not going to be distracted by how good looking you are or even how rich you are. They're going to be looking at those intangibles. And those intangibles change the game a lot when you're looking for a quality woman in that regard. You still have to be financially responsible, and you're still going to have to, you know, be able to support a family, and you're still going to have to be able to provide a decent lifestyle. So you're going to have to still do all that other work. There's no question about that. You still have to have resources. But you don't necessarily have to be the greatest looking guy. You don't necessarily have to be the tallest guy. You don't have to be, you know, the six-pack abs guy. You can be morally superior is such another loaded word too, but you can bring that morality to the table as an asset, as an intangible that will give you an advantage that other guys simply don't have. And I've seen it happen. One of my best friends growing up is Mormon, you know, and I'm not big into Mormons, but you know, the guy was a good guy. I mean, and almost every Mormon I've ever met tend to be really great people, regardless of whether you believe in their religion or not, doesn't matter. They just tend to be really good people, and they're trustworthy on them for the most part. At least that's been my experience. You guys may have different experiences than that, but my experience has been they've been pretty trustworthy, and they live pretty clean, good lives, and they tend to do the right thing when no one's watching. You know, Mitt Romney, you look at him, the guy, he's a good guy. You know, whether you agree with his politics or not, you know, he's definitely a good guy. So, in observing him through his life and his marriage and his children and the lifestyle that he's led, he was always the good friend and I was always the bad friend. So he enjoyed having me as an influence in his life to give him some peek into what it was like to be a delinquent, and I enjoyed having him around just to have some peek as to what it would be like to be morally superior. But anyway, we had a great relationship, and he's had a wonderful life. You know, he's got some great kids. I think they've got, being Mormon, he has like 20 kids. No, I'm serious, like maybe 4 or 5. But he's got some great kids. He's got a great wife. They've been married for like 40 years. I mean, really good people, and he seems very happy in his life. So it's possible. It's absolutely possible. But you're not going to find those girls on dating apps. You're not going to find them, you know, on Tinder or whatever. That's not where they are. And that creates another opportunity for you. Because in order for you to be a high status man, well, you've got to put yourself in a position to have high status. So I know a lot of young guys are very discouraged about the dating market because they don't feel like they have a lot to offer. You know, when you compare yourself to the whole world and all the men in the world, and you think about the economics of dating and how women are looking for high value men, and a lot of times that value is measured in resources, and those resources are oftentimes a reflection of wealth or status or fame or something like that, it's really easy to get very discouraged. So the first thing I would say is there are some intangible resources that you can bring to the table in terms of the quality of your personality, the type of person you are, a lot of that. So that stuff can be meaningful. But also, you don't have to necessarily be all that. Like, you don't need to be a big fish. You might just need a smaller pond. And if you can create a smaller pond by creating an environment where you can stand out against your peers, then you can be a resourceful guy. You can be a high value man. It's not a matter of being Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, because yeah, you're not going to do that. You don't want to compete with those guys. They're bringing billions and billions of dollars, you know. I mean, they can obviously out-resource you in a heartbeat. I mean, you can take her on a flight to the moon, whatever. Yes, you don't want to play that game. But maybe you can be the most high status guy at a small group, you know, like a book club or a small church group, or you know, maybe you guys get together to watch football games at a local tavern. You know, there's lots and lots of environments where you can give yourself an opportunity to stand out against your peers. You don't need to be the best guy in the world, you just need to be the best guy in her social group. or at least among them. So don't allow yourself to count yourself out of the dating game just because it seems like all the odds are stacked against you, because they're not. You can definitely find a high quality woman and you can attract her by putting yourself in a position to get her attention and to be the high status guy in a relatively small group. So when I got back from college, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I was looking for ways that I could own a business. Now, one of the easiest ways I found was through a franchisee program at Domino's Pizza. And the idea is that you basically enslave yourself to Domino's Pizza for a period of time. And if you're successful and you learn all of their techniques and skills and you go through their manager training program, then at the end of that, you will be granted a franchise. And they'll help you secure financing, and you'll be on your way to being a business owner. And at the time, this is, remember, back in the 80s, so Domino's Pizza was still relatively new, and there were lots of franchise opportunities, and yeah, it was good. Anyway, so lo and behold, I get the job, and I show up on day one, and my manager is a guy who I knew in high school. He was about maybe a year or two older than me. I think maybe he was a senior when I was a sophomore, and his name was Louis. Louis was not a good-looking guy, but Louis always had beautiful girls, always had beautiful girls. Louis exuded confidence. I mean, he was not a big guy, not a strong guy, not particularly athletic, not particularly good looking. But you couldn't tell that to him because he just exuded confidence. Not cockiness, not egotistical, just flat confident in everything that he did. And watching him was a masterclass in how to handle yourself as a man, lead people, and win women. Anyway, so he was my manager for the first year or so, and I got promoted, and eventually I became a manager of a store nearby. And it's a very small world at Domino's Pizza. You've got a lot of young people working for you, a lot of employees. Usually, I think at that store we had like 40 or 50 employees. And you become kind of a celebrity, It's a small world, and you're at the top of it. And in that environment, you have all the status. Now, I'm not saying Domino's Pizza is the only place to do that, but there are lots of small groups and organizations and clubs where you can insert yourself and quietly, through confidence, take a leadership role that will increase your status in the eyes of the other members of that club. So if you're looking to find a high-value woman who will be very attractive to you, you need to find a place where the women that have the characteristics that you're looking for are going to be. Insert yourself into that community and make yourself a leader in that community. If you can do that, these women will come to you. Now, obviously, you're going to have to really seek these situations out. I can't tell you which ones are right and which ones are wrong. Church-related organizations might be good. You might find good people at those sorts of organizations. Book clubs, there's another idea. You might find people that are of high value. People who have interests that are similar to your own, that are more on the, intellectual / spiritual / educational side. That's where you're more likely to find these kinds of people. Because if you can insert yourself into one of these groups and you can quietly exude confidence and express yourself in thoughtful, meaningful ways that will be admirable by others, then you will be a man of status. And once you become a man of status in that organization or in that group, all the other women that are there are going to be looking to you as a potential partner. It's just the way it is. And even if you can't find the exact woman there, going through that process is great practice, because then you can learn how to put yourself in those positions, in those situations where you can become seen as a man of status. Obviously, you can't control the way people see you, but you can put yourself in a position to be seen in those ways. And that's what I would recommend. So the first thing is, you got to become a better man. Second thing is, you got to know what you're looking for in terms of what kind of woman you want. You want to get all of that surfacey stuff out, you know, these Instagram girls, you know, dating app girls. They're probably not the ones you're looking for. You're going to have to go deeper. You're going to have to set your sights a lot higher. When you do that, you're going to be looking at a much smaller population. But if you can put yourself in the right position to become a man of status, and you have resources, and you leverage those intangible values, those ethics and morals, and you hold yourself out as a man of high quality, well, you make yourself almost irresistible to the woman that you're looking for. And that's what you need to do. You need to make yourself irresistible to a high quality woman. In the comments, young guys are always asking me whether they should be dating, whether they should be even out there trying to look for a woman. And I get it. You know, our culture has kind of declined to a state where, you know, you're really taking your financial life and your emotional life and your psychological life into your hands every time you go on a date. And certainly if you want to make a commitment to a woman, you know, it can be very, very challenging. But there are ways that you can do it. And I think that if you play your cards right, you can attract a high quality woman that you can count on, who will be loyal to you and who will be there for you in the long run. It's not easy, but it may be worth it to you. You know, I hear a lot of guys saying, well, the squeeze isn't worth the juice. This is going to take a lot of squeezing. You know, this is not going to be an easy one. This is going to take a lot of squeezing. But if you do the work, you know, you get the prize. Simple as that. It's not something you're going to do in a month or in a week or anything like that. It might take a year or 2 or 3 to put this all together in order for it to work for you. But if you do the work, you can't lose. You're going to get a lot of benefits from this. Even if you don't find the exact person that you're looking for, you're going to meet a lot of great people. You can be a better person. You're going to be more successful in your life. All those things are going to happen. So, all right, that's all I got for you today. Please remember to like and subscribe. If you have any questions or thoughts, please leave them in the comments. I love reading your comments. You'll notice as I'm going through the comments, I just put little hearts, or I just like heart these things so you guys know that I read your comment. Sometimes I'll respond if it's quick and easy, but there's just a lot of comments to go through, and I look for the ones that are asking questions, you know, and I try to respond to those. And obviously I try to give the members the first crack at the answers. But anyway, so please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Remember, stay healthy, and if you can, and if you want to, stay single.